All right, today we are diving deep into a billion-dollar bet happening in Hollywood right now. It involves one of the biggest directors out there and a promise he's made, a promise that might not be exactly what it seems. Let's get right into it.
But first, check this out. What if I told you Tom Cruise was just spotted on the set of a brand new Star Wars movie? But he wasn't acting. He was behind the camera. It's a pretty wild story, and it opens up a much bigger conversation.
So, according to the New York Times, this really happened. The director of this new Star Wars film, Shawn Levy, basically dared Tom Cruise to jump in and film part of a lightsaber duel. And, being Tom Cruise, he just wades right into a muddy pond and starts filming. But the real story here isn't the crazy cameo, it's the guy who invited him in the first place.
The director is Shawn Levy, and he's a guy with a very specific reputation he really likes to talk about, especially when it comes to spending the studio's money.
Yeah, in that same New York Times article, Levy basically says he's not like other filmmakers where it's cost and schedule be damned. Nope, he says he's the responsible one, the safe pair of hands you give your massive investment to. So that's the big question, right? Does the evidence actually back that claim up?
So, does this reputation for being financially responsible actually hold up under scrutiny? Let's put it to the test. And we're going to start with our first case study, his most recent blockbuster.
On the surface, Deadpool and Wolverine was just an absolute monster, a smash hit. It pulled in over $1.3 billion around the world. I mean, that makes it the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. For any studio, you see that number, you think, we made a ton of money.
But here's where the story starts to change. The budget that everyone was reporting was somewhere around $200 million. Okay, sounds about right. But because of some required tax filings in the UK, we found out the actual production cost was a jaw-dropping $533.7 million. That is more than double the number everyone thought.
So what does that actually mean for the bottom line? Well, you take that massive production cost, you add in probably another $150 million for marketing, and suddenly the film's total cost is around $580 million. It had to make way over $1 billion just to break even. The final profit? Probably closer to $170 million. Still a lot of money for sure, but a way slimmer profit than you'd expect from such a giant hit.
So that leads us to a really important question. Was this gigantic budget for Deadpool just a one-off thing, a weird situation? Or does it actually fit into a bigger pattern of spending on the projects Levy is involved with? Let's check out our next case study.
For our second case, we're going to jump from the big screen to the world of streaming with another absolute cultural phenomenon. Because Shawn Levy isn't just a movie director, he's also a key executive producer and sometimes director on Netflix's smash hit, Stranger Things.
And for its final season, the budget for this show just went into the stratosphere. We are talking about a reported cost of up to $60 million for a single episode. $60 million. That puts it right up there with the most expensive television ever made. Period.
So let's put that in perspective. For the entire 8-episode final season, the total budget is going to land somewhere between $400 and $480 million. So once again, we see a project where Shawn Levy is in a major leadership role, and it's operating with an absolutely enormous budget.
Okay, so we're definitely seeing a pretty clear pattern of massive budgets. So now, let's take all of that and see where it's headed next, Levy's upcoming Star Wars film.
So let's just do a quick recap of what we've seen so far. Deadpool and Wolverine's actual cost was more than double what we were all told. Stranger Things, where Levy is an executive producer, has a nearly $500 million price tag for just one season. And we already know that recent Star Wars movies can cost a fortune to make, sometimes as much as $600 million.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. Based on the financial data from his recent projects, it really looks like a blockbuster directed by Shawn Levy needs to cross the billion-dollar mark at the box office just to get into the black in any meaningful way. $1 billion is basically the starting line for success. That's an incredibly high bar.
And that brings us to our final billion-dollar question. For a franchise like Star Wars, which, let's be honest, is trying to find its footing again with audiences and at the box office, is hiring a director with a track record of these kinds of huge budgets a brilliant move? Or is it an incredibly risky gamble? I guess that's what we'll all be watching to find out.